I had this excellent idea that I would actually, be able to see during this video because I don't wear contacts. I just choose not to see in 20/20 vision if I'm not wearing my glasses, but there's my lighting. Hello, my name is Elise, and I think I'm gonna have to retire the glasses because I'm wanting to do like weird robot things with my eyes. Look at that, I look like some kind of superhuman. Okay. Hi, this is going to be my July wrap-up. I am mixed feelings here because I am super impressed with how much I read, but also I don't want to talk about this many books because I know I'm going to regret it when I go to edit and there's like an hour of footage. Also, I am sweating right now. I have no idea why. So last month's total beats all my other totals pretty much. I read 24 books and 10 graphic novels. I'm going to halfway say that's because it's my last full month of summer. Last month was July, before classes start again, and also because of the nice controversial reading rush. I did really push myself to read as much as I could then. Yeah, I guess I'll just get into it before, again, we're here for an hour. So the first book I read was The Blood of Emmett Till by Timothy B. Tyson. If you don't know who Emmett Till is or was, he was a black boy. I forgot how old he was, but he was young, and he whistled, or there's controversy about what actually happened, but basically he was catcalling kind of a white woman at a store while getting candy, and he was lynched because this was offensive to the people in that town. I would highly recommend this one if you don't, I always say this, but if you don't read nonfiction typically, this is a good one to start with because it wasn't hard to comprehend, let's put it that way. I am still sweating, but the second book I read was The Silent Patient. I listened to the audiobook and I came into it having such high hopes because it's supposed to be about some woman who murders her husband and then never talks again. I'm like, wow, that sounds intriguing. But I thought it was okay. I gave it 4 stars. It was more like a 3.5 stars. I don't know. I thought some parts were a bit boring, like they dragged on forever. And I don't want to say the ending was predictable because I didn't predict it because I can never predict anything, but I wasn't so like, what? I was just like, oh, I guess that makes sense. I still think it was enjoyable. I just thought some parts when I was listening to it on the audiobook, I just kind of tuned out. Next, I read The Politics of Love by Jensen. This was an arc. It's not being released till I think October. I'll put the date somewhere here or wherever. I was super excited for this book. It is sapphic. It is about 2 women with very opposing political beliefs. One is a closeted conservative, the other is a liberal. But I have to admit, I was very disappointed in it. I gave it 2 stars, and I think my biggest issue was the writing. It is an adult novel. It felt literally like middle grade writing, but like bad middle grade writing. I feel bad saying that, but it was so distracting to me. And I don't know if anyone else is aware of these kinds of things, but I like noticed sentence variation, if that makes sense. And I just like noticed the whole time that every single sentence started with a noun, like specifically a pronoun. And it was really like distracting to me because it was such a choppy flow, and like to be aware of the sentence variation says something about the writing, because you should be able to just jump into the book and care about like the plot and the characters, not the way the words are put on the page. So yeah, it wasn't my favorite. I didn't really like the characters that much, and there were some weird, suspiciously conflicting messages about political views. Like, I thought it was going to be more about how 2 women who don't agree on their political beliefs get together, but in the end it was more one woman changing her beliefs for the other. I don't know, it did not sit well with me. Next, I read I Wish You All the Best, and this was so great. It is one of the first books I have seen that explicitly explores being non-binary. I thought it was excellently done. It's an own voices novel, and I would highly recommend it. Do keep in mind, though, it ended up being a lot more serious and depressing than I thought it'd be. I thought it was just gonna be like a romance with some expected angst, but it was definitely hard-hitting with some really, I guess I would say triggering scenes. There's definitely characters who don't accept the main character and some very deep family issues, so just beware that it's not the happiest of stories, but I did think it was nice to have that non-binary representation. Next, I listened to The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin. I thought this was excellent. It is nonfiction. It's 2 short essays, I guess you'd say, about race and religion. This is definitely a great collection of essays to read if you want to introduce yourself to more nonfiction texts. I thought it was quite moving, and the audiobook was well done. I wanted to just sit there and like listen to the whole thing without doing anything else because it was just so engaging, and I loved the tone that the narrator read it in. So yeah, I would highly recommend that one. Next, I read The Voting Booth by Brandy Colbert, and I thought this was great. It was about a politically active teen who wants to get everyone to vote, and it takes place in one day, and she meets this other guy. It's just their adventure going to different polling booths because this boy can't vote for a bunch of different reasons. And I just thought it was really engaging. I liked that it took place in one day because it was a quick read, I guess I'd say, but I thought it was entertaining and the characters were inspiring and fun to read about. Next, I listened to Branded by the Pink Triangle, which is another nonfiction book. It is super short but informative. It's mostly about gay men during World War II and basically what happened to them. I highly recommend this one if you don't find that too triggering, because obviously there is some wild mistreatment of human beings in this book because it is nonfiction, but I definitely thought it was worth the read. Next, I read With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. I think I have officially read all of her books, and they were all fantastic. I actually really liked this one. It actually might be my favorite of hers. I don't know, the cover is gorgeous too. It is about a girl, I think she's about to go off to college, but her dream is to become a chef, and amongst this dream, she has to deal with a lot of other things. She has her own child, she has to deal with her family life, her friendships, her romantic interests. It's a lot going on, but I thought it was so well done. Elizabeth Acevedo, if you've not heard me mention her name a million times on this channel, she always writes gorgeous things. I would highly recommend this or anything by her because they always are so gorgeously done, but you know, just a perfect amount of emotion and conflict and pretty writing. It's good, I promise. Next, I read A Man Called Uva, and you can make fun of me if I'm saying his name wrong because I definitely didn't know it was pronounced that way till I listened to the audiobook. But basically, it's about this lonely, grumpy old man, and he's super resistant to how the world is changing, but it's, you know, his experiences as he meets other people who are younger and just how he kind of softens up, I guess. I don't know, that's a weird summary of it, but I thought it was so great. It was so sweet. It's definitely not like a plot-driven book. It's definitely more focused on the characters if you like that, but I just thought it was so sweet and not something that's typically represented, or at least not what I typically read in literature, so highly recommend that one too. Next, I read Like a Love Story. This is set during the AIDS crisis, and it is about 3 teenagers. I guess you would say they fall into a kind of love triangle thing. I thought it was well done. Clearly it is not the lightest of topics since it is about AIDS. I did appreciate the characters. There's queer characters of color, so you know, always a good thing to have. And I thought it was well done. I cared about some characters more than others, and I thought the ending was okay, but the beginning and middle I thought was pretty good. Next, I read Mad, Bad, and Dangerous by Samira Ahmed. I have read a book by her before. It is Love, Hate, and Other Filters, which I really loved. But this book, unfortunately, was really disappointing to me. I gave it a whole 1 star. I finished it and like didn't even know what it was about. It was one of those kinds of books. So yeah, like I have nothing to say about it. Next is This Train is Being Held. It is about 2 teenagers and they meet on a train, and it's their romance that blooms after that. But it takes place over a pretty long span of time. I think it's 3 years. So I had mixed feelings because I liked the characters. I liked the discussions in this book. There's mentionings of like race and culture, the little bit of police brutality, just, you know, like a lot of different subjects that I like to read in books. But I just felt like the timeline was a bit too long because I just got confused over such a long period of time. Otherwise, I thought this was super cute. I liked the romance. Again, I liked the characters and what was going on in the story. But I think my one complaint was that it was just too short of a book over too long of a period of time. But I'd still recommend it because that's just me always getting confused with things, and I think other people would really enjoy it. Next, I read The Deep by River Solomon. I've heard really good things about this, so I was excited to read it, and I don't typically read fantasy, I guess you'd call it. So I was interested to see what this would be. I don't know what I think about it. To give a rough summary, it's about African slave women who were thrown off a ship, and then I think they kind of become some aquatic-ish peoples. I don't know. I was so confused while reading it. It's a novella. It's short. It was weird. It was really strange. Like I don't even know how to describe it. It was weird, okay? And I usually like weird things, but I thought this was just a bit too weird for me. But it is interesting, and the writing was gorgeous, so that was good. I'd like to see more from this author. I think this was just a bit too short for me to comprehend what was going on. Next, I read A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. It's about a boy, his mom has cancer, and it's about how he deals with it, but it kind of goes off into a like fantasy-ish type of direction. And I think that's like, you know, symbolic of how he's processing things. But I thought it was really well done. It was super sad, clearly. The ending just... But yeah, I would definitely recommend this one. Oh wait, pause. I forgot to say that starting with The Deep, so The Deep and The Monster Calls and whatever I'm about to mention, these were all during the reading rush. I have a vlog if you haven't checked it out, except the way I dealt with the controversy is every time I mentioned the reading rush, I inserted a clip of me recommending a book by a Black author, so you should check that out. Also, I apologize. Every time I make a recommendation, I sound like a robot, like I sound dead inside, and that's not because I wasn't excited. It was because I literally filmed those clips in bed at like 3 in the morning because I like last minute came up with that idea. But hey, I hope you still enjoy. Anyway, back to it. Next, I read The Friend Scheme. This just came out. I thought it was super fun. It is marketed as a thriller. I don't know if I'd call it a thriller. It's more of a romance. But it's about two boys. They fall in love. They're from these rival families. And yeah, obviously that causes conflict. It is young adult. I definitely would say the writing is young adult. It is not of the most detailed, complex quality. It's absolutely simple kind of writing. I didn't mind that. I know other people would probably have problems with that, but I thought it worked with the story. I really liked the characters. It had a lot of references to modern things, which I usually don't like, except these references were to things I very specifically like, so I appreciated that. I thought that was fun. Next, I listened to The 57 Bus. This is nonfiction. This event actually happened. I think it was in California, but it is about an agender teen, and they're wearing a skirt on a bus, and then someone else sets it on fire, and clearly that is terrible, so this was definitely an emotional read, but I just really appreciated the way that the author wrote about this event, because I thought she did a good job of acknowledging the fact that these were kids, the teenagers, and I think she does a good job of not making it black and white. Like, she humanizes the people, and while she acknowledges what is wrong and clearly a terrible act to a human being, she also gives another side to it. I don't know if that's a good description of what happened, but yeah, I would really recommend this one. Next is Making Friends with Alice Dyson. This was an arc of mine. I don't think it'll be out till a while. I think September, maybe October. I'll put the date somewhere. But I was really excited for this one because the summary sounded similar to my own experiences in life, but it's about an awkward kind of social outcast book nerd type girl, and she falls in love with a boy, and you know, that whole experience. So I was looking forward to this because I wanted to see how the author would take this character, the awkward, socially inept kind of girl, because like, yeah. But it was okay. The writing and like the way the characters behaved was like weirdly juvenile. Like they were seniors in high school, like about to go off to college, and I just felt like they talked much younger. The relationship was not it, folks. There were some weird things that I wished were discussed more, like pushing boundaries. Like as someone who was super quiet in school, I did not enjoy reading about a super quiet, awkward girl just kind of getting pushed around. Like, girl, you gotta be able to say no. Yeah, I didn't enjoy that part. Next, I listened to Girl Serpent Thorn. It is a fantasy novel, like a retelling fairy tale type thing about a girl and her royal family, except she's, you know, locked away because she has this curse where everything she touched is poisoned. And I was super excited for this one because the cover is like, look at the cover, it's gorgeous. And I thought it was pretty well done. I wouldn't say it was the most unique book I've ever read, but it was interesting, and the atmosphere, like the way the author wrote the atmosphere, I don't know how to describe it. It was just so gorgeous. Next is Into the Wilds. I absolutely love this one. I've already watched the movie before I read the book, but I thought the book was well done. It's about a man, he's from a well-off family, he goes to college, whatever, and then he just kind of yeets out, like he just bye folks, like he just leaves, he's gone. And it is non-fiction. He's off into the wild. Oh, that's the title of the book. But yeah, it's just his survival and all of that. I don't usually read survival type books, but I thought this was really interesting. And like the character was, well, I guess it's a real person. He's kind of pretentious, but like I low-key liked that. I don't know. I liked all the quotes in the book. Next, I read The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This took me forever to read, like 2 or 3 weeks, okay? But it is my new favorite book. I don't know if that's because it's good or because I spent so much time on it, but it was fantastic. It's about like these pretentious Greek/Latin students, and then like murders involved. That's not a good summary, but it's really great. I loved the morally gray characters. I don't know if I call them morally, I don't know. It was good. It made me think a lot, and the writing was so fantastic. And also, I've mentioned this on Twitter quite a few times, but I took Latin for 4.5 years, like ancient Latin. It was fun to have little Latin sentences in this book and know I could translate them. But anyways, that has nothing to do with the quality of the book. Next, I read Loveless by Alice Oseman, my favorite author. I'm actually gonna refrain from saying too much because I filmed a whole video on why you should read it, but just a tiny little summary just to get you introduced. It's about a girl, she's going off to college, or I guess university, because we're not in the US, but she's never dated anyone, never had a crush, and it's about her whole exploration of her sexuality. It explores both aromanticism and asexuality, which was fantastic, and this got 5 stars from me. It was so good. Again, I filmed a whole video on it, so keep an eye out for that one. Next is Daisy Jones and the Six, and call me controversial, but I gave it 2 stars. And the reason I gave it 2 stars is because I was really looking forward to it, because I love music. I love to listen to music. I like to read about music. I wish I could play music. I have 2 guitars right next to me right here, but I can barely play them. But anyways, I thought this was gonna be like right up my alley, and I was disappointed because I've read so much. Like my favorite kind of music is punk and rock. Punk is technically rock, but I've read so much about band members and the journey of bands that none of it is unique, and this book was the exact same. It was boring to me, and I think, again, like I read about bands a lot, so I think if this was a real band that I knew, I would have thought it was more interesting because it's about real people, you know, that I want to learn more about. But just for a fiction book, I just thought it was boring and not unique at all. The audiobook was well done, but again, the story just, there's nothing to it besides whatever you could predict would happen. Next is Tell Me Again How a Crush Should Feel. It's sapphic, it's great. I've been looking forward to reading this forever, like seriously years, and I don't know why I never did. It is YA, it is romance, it is definitely YA, emphasis on the YA, because I don't know, it just had such a YA feel, but I actually really liked that element of it because the narrator was hilarious, and it's not often that I stumble upon funny narrators, and I was listening to the audiobook of this and I don't know, I really liked it. It was refreshing, it was fun, I liked it. It definitely takes a darker turn, but I thought it was addressed well, so I really liked this one. Again, not the highest quality of writing, but it was definitely entertaining. And then lastly, I read She Represents by Caitlin Donahue. This was an arc. It's not published yet, but it's nonfiction. It is a collection of little short biographies about 44 politically influential women. I was looking forward to this one, but I don't think it was exactly what I thought it would be. I mean, actually, it was exactly what it said it was, which I thought was a little disappointing. Again, it's basically just 44 little summaries of influential women, and I just thought it was hard to read all at once because that's just so many people to read about in such a few amount of words, because each woman had like either 2 pages or they had a little mini biography, which was like a paragraph, and I just felt I like finished the book feeling like I didn't learn anything because I couldn't remember anyone's name that I didn't already know. So I think it would be interesting if you want that, if you want to just get little introductions to women who have shaped politics. But personally, I like to read books that are more in depth, so I don't think this one was really for me. So for the first graphic novel, which I read on the first day of July, I read Are You Listening by Tilly Walden. Just for a brief summary, it's about 2 women. One is on the run and they meet each other. They used to know each other before, I think, but it's this kind of quiet book that kind of takes a fantasy route out of nowhere. I didn't really know what the author was getting at until the end, and I'm not going to call this a spoiler because it is a trigger warning. This is about sexual assault, and I didn't pick up on that until the very end. I don't think you were really able to pick up on that till the end. I thought the illustrations were really gorgeous, and I liked the feel of the story, like the vibe, but there wasn't too much to it, and yeah, I wish there was more. Next, I got an arc of My Riot, and I loved this one. This is exactly what I was looking for. It is about a 90s Riot Girl band, and I love Riot Girls, so if you don't know what Riot Girl is, it's I guess a branch of punk focused on women, and this is exactly everything that I've been wanting in a book. The characters are imperfect, it focuses on music and the power that music holds, focuses on society expectations of women. It has angst and anger, but like just the perfect amount to really capture the experience of, misunderstood teenagers. It was great. It was so good. I would highly recommend this one, especially if you do like punk music, because there were so many references to punk bands, and the whole time I was like, this is so good. I know that band. I love that band. And one time they mentioned the band Black Flag when I was literally in the middle of listening to Black Flag, and I was like, oh, that is so cool. I love this. So yeah, keep a lookout for that one. I will put the release date up here, but it's so good. I want to read it again. Next is Odessa. This is another arc. It's about this dystopian type land after an earthquake, and the main character gets this package in the mail that indicates that her mother, who was previously thought to be dead, might actually be alive. So it's basically her journey with her siblings, trying to find her mother. The first thing I'll say is that the artwork is gorgeous. It has this like pinkish palette, and I thought that was so aesthetically pleasing. But I was a little, just slightly disappointed. I felt like not much happened and the pacing was kind of weird. I don't know. I really wanted more from this. I think it's going to be like a series, so I guess we will get more. But in just this first volume, I I felt like it was almost unfinished. Like the way it finished, it didn't feel like a cliffhanger. It kind of felt like the author just said, all right, I'm done, I give up. But again, it was still entertaining. I just wanted more. Next, I read the first volume of The Umbrella Academy by Gerard Way. I actually have already read the first volume like 5 years ago or something like that, because if you haven't heard me blab before, I'm a huge MCR fan, and Gerard Way, who wrote The Umbrella Academy, is the lead singer of MCR, so yeah, that's why I read it many years ago. But I just reread it again because I know the second season of the show is coming out, or just came out. Yeah, it already came out. But I have to admit, I didn't really like the show that much, and maybe that's because I thought the comic was okay. I don't know. I feel traitorous saying that since I've like dedicated my little emo heart to MCR. But you know, whatever. Yeah. Next, I read all 3 books in the Tea Dragon Society series. I think the series is just called Tea Dragons or something. But it's middle grade and it's super cute. It's about people and dragons. I don't know. It's so cute. The artwork is gorgeous. It is literally the most beautiful thing ever. I think I wrote in my review of one of them that like if you wanted to read this whole book without reading a single word, you would still enjoy it. It was so good. I would say I thought that the volumes or issues or books, whatever you call them, got better as they went on, because I thought the first one was a bit too short, because I felt like, yeah, I just wanted more. But the second and third one were so good. I really loved them. But the first one was good too. I just thought it was short. Next, I read another arc called There Are Things I Can't Tell You. I don't typically read graphic novels like this. The only reason I downloaded it is because it mentioned my weakness, childhood friends with opposite personalities, and I was like, yes. And then I read it, I was like, no, because I don't know, I just thought it was really disappointing. The characters really annoyed me for some reason, and I don't know, it was not my favorite. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I thought it was gonna be a super quick read, and then it took me forever to read because I just kept putting it down. So I am very disappointed. If anyone has any other recommendations with that trope, you know, just comment them down, because that's my favorite. Next, I read Camp Spirit. This is a sapphic graphic novel, and it was good until it got weird. But basically, it's about a girl, against her will, she is sent to be a camp counselor by her mom, and she doesn't know anything about camping or wilderness or whatever, so she is not prepared, and she has all these rowdy children to take care of, and it's just a whole experience. And I thought it was really entertaining. I liked that. I thought the characters were great. They were sassy and all of that. But then it got weird. It got like weirdly paranormal-ish, sci-fi fantasy. I don't know. Which was kind of fitting because it's camp. Like it felt like a camp story. But also I just kind of wish it stayed in the more contemporary genre. But I don't know. I really like the main character though. She was like a grungy 90s girl. I don't know. So yeah, mixed feelings. Oops, I am ending on a graphic novel I didn't like. The last graphic novel I read is Fangs by Sarah Anderson. It is an arc. I don't know when it's coming out. Again, I'll just, you know, woo. But it is about a vampire and a werewolf who fall in love. And I was like, that sounds cool, and then it was not. I don't think it was bad. The art was good too. It just felt like weirdly disjointed and short. It felt like this author just had a bunch of scraps and scribbles of these characters and then just kind of put it all together in a book. It just felt like nothing, and it was pretty cliche. It was still like enjoyable, but like it was totally unoriginal. There was no plot, nothing holding anything together. I don't know, it was really disappointing. Thank you for watching. I hope some of those sounded interesting to you. Let me know if you've read any of them or plan to read any of them. But yeah, I am super proud that I read this much this month, or last month technically. No promises I will be reading this much in August because I have other things to do, mainly school. So yeah, this might hopefully be the last of the longest wrap-ups ever for now. But otherwise, again, thank you again. Subscribe, comment, you know, all that fun stuff. Bye-bye. Oh, also, look how cute. I got a planner. Katara's on it. And I wrote down all the books I read, and I got these little book stickers. Look how cute. I didn't know what to do for craft novels, so I put little smiley faces. But look at that. Yay.